Must be an SNL prop. Nah, way too clever for them. This week, we open with Nodoka having forgotten her recorder at home. Maybe you could borrow Kairi Sane's. Well, luckily, Rablin remembered it for her and dropped it off. And I'm sure no reject for the Muppets is ever going to break us apart. Also, for some reason, the rest of the healing animals were with her. Then again, I guess we wouldn't have a conflict this week, as the little fairies passed by a tea house and took notice of their unique mascot that looks like the love child between Kirby and Grimace. To be exact, it was supposed to be a Dharma, or in the case of this tea house that specialized in lavender tea, a Lavendharma. Yeah, I think the Dharma and Nichijou look better. Still, for whatever reason, Rablin took a little shine to the Aoni plushie. So, let me get this straight. This is gonna be an episode mostly about Rablin weeping out over a doll as though it's her husbando. Yeah, let me just take a wild guess and say this is a Jin Tanaka episode. Yep, of course. Meanwhile, in the Byogen Kingdom, Bati Tomoto was continuing his brown-nosing, this time moving on to Darizen, even offering him some grape juice to match the focus of this episode. Darizen understandably turned him down because really, they're surrounded by lava, so there's no way that juice could be cold. Later that night, Nodoka stumbled upon her little friend sneaking a look at a flyer that resulted in a little wake-up call that alerted her parents. I dreamt I was being chased by two yandere in purple. This house does have a security system, right? Sure enough, it was a flyer for the Lavendharma advertising a giveaway for it for anyone who completed a stamp card. Nodoka agreed to help her friend get one of the disowned cousins of the California raisins. The goal aside, Nodoka had a good time collecting the stamps, as the tea was nice, and so was the shop owner, who, yeah, I guess was some nice cell representation there. And eventually, they got the plushie.
And there was much rejoicing.
Okay, so just judging by the title of this episode, these two are gonna get into some kind of stupid argument over the Dharma, like who owns it or something like that, right? Well, not exactly. As the partners were making their way home and Rablin proved to be surprisingly strong, they ran into Hinata and Yatran, with the latter making fun of their prize. Of course, Nodoka showed it off, not realizing that her partner was more than a little embarrassed of having her hobbies exposed to her friends. As a result, she tried to aggressively deny that she liked the Dharma, and this resulted in the titular fight of this episode. So, yeah, honestly, this is kind of a stupid and childish fight, but not exactly forced either, as there was build-up, with Rablin clearly trying to hide her interest throughout the episode. And while this could just be me, I have had arguments just like this with some of my friends. As a kid of the early 2000s, I grew up in the age where anime wasn't as mainstream as it is today, and thus I tried to hide my interest in it, but one of my friends who was also into anime ended up blabbing about it to our classmates. So, just like Rablin here, I lashed out at him and kind of cut ties for a little while. And in hindsight, I realized he didn't mean to embarrass me, and I did overreact. Not helped by the fact that I went to a special needs school, and thus, I think he just didn't realize I was embarrassed. Thankfully, we made up and have been close ever since. If you never had a fight like this with your friends, well, I honestly envy you. Didn't you guys kind of have a tiff back near the beginning of the series? Well, alright, it's not exactly the same here, and I do really like some of this visual storytelling, like Rablin just sitting alone in Nodoka's room, with the implication that she was there the whole time, even without the lights on. That, plus the fact that we don't see her face throughout this scene, will play into something very significant later. The next day, Nodoka's friends comfort her, with Sue in particular saying some good stuff. At the same time, Yatran apologized for what he said, showing off that he wasn't just going to be the two-dimensional bully of this episode. Now, that job more belonged to Darizen, who used the lavender tea as a catalyst this week. And again, I guess two elementals can't inhabit the same item at the same time, because in spite of it mostly being water, the tea contained a leaf elemental. The Precure rushed in to deal with the not-so-little teapot, but while Chiyu and Hinata had no trouble transforming... not really surprised. Bad Dice quality control has been slipping a lot recently. No, of course, the tiff between the two was preventing them from synchronizing properly. Unable to fight, Rablin and Nodoka at least tried to get Latte to safety, but in spite of her ailments, the little pooch tried to get the two to make up. And again, while I do think the reason for this fight is kind of dumb, I do like the storytelling they're doing here, with both admitting that more than anything else, they were hurt the most by the fact that they snapped at their friend in the first place, and hated that they didn't have the courage to face the other afterwards. It was a good, emotional scene that was kind of ruined by this shot of all of these guys just kind of hanging out. Girls, did you just become friends with the Mega Byogen or something? I mean, is this whole episode meant to carry this friendship theme throughout? Well, apparently not close enough to not let Nodoka get in a good rider kick on it. Toei, you just want me to play this clip, don't ya? Well, at least it's not the worst DBZ meme ever.
It's over 9.
And after flipping the lid to signify they were done with the tea, they defeated the Mega Byogen, and surprisingly, they just got another elemental bottle 2 weeks apart. Gotta pump out all those new toys quick after all those delays, I guess. I mean, what's next? Are they gonna start selling the Lavender, Wait, did they tweet that right after this episode aired? Anyway, a few more trips to the tea house later, and Nodoka received another one of those plushies that are up for pre-order right now. And the episode ended with the reunited partners enjoying their spoils. I'll admit, when I read the title and summary of this episode, I wasn't all that excited, as again, we've pretty much done this story before with the second episode of this series, but with enough variation, I do think they pulled off a good episode that again highlights how this show has probably some of the best fairy partners of the franchise. Not because they're perfect, far from it, they're flawed in a good way. Again, much of my personal enjoyment might come from the fact that I went through a very similar fight with a close friend, so your mileage may vary. After all, the reason they fought was ultimately more than a little childish, especially considering Rablin is supposed to be a doctor in training, so you'd think she'd be a little more mature at this point in her life. Then again, I guess I have seen people my age fight over less. And ultimately, I do think the messages here are good. One obviously being how to make up with a friend after a fight, and the other, more subtle one, being that we shouldn't be embarrassed by our hobbies. Again, while I do think he's a cynic who probably did try to play Rablin up like an otaku obsessing over a plushie, Jin Tanaka does also recognize that some kids are still embarrassed to share their hobbies with others. I think what he was trying to say is that while they might not be able to accept it at first, real friends will be able to at least understand your hobbies like Nyataran here. I just really liked all of the interactions involving the healing animals here. I mean, this show has really taken its time to make these some of the most fleshed out mascot characters in the entire franchise. They act like chums who will inevitably get on each other's nerves, but will still apologize in the end if they go too far. And of course, the apology scene between Nodoka and Rablin was great too, with Ai Kakuma and Aoyuki again bringing their skills to the table. This week's fight, all told, was unfortunately a little on the short side, shame because Ken Ueno was doing some good animation this week, but as I always say, it gets somewhat of a pass as long as the main story is good, which it was thanks to some good visuals and shots like this. Overall, I'll say this was a solid episode, but you know, rather than this thing, when the hell are we gonna get Pajama Rablin? I'll pay up the nose for that. So apparently, after all the pandemic delays, we finally got a release date for what was supposed to be the spring crossover movie, Miracle Leap. It's going to be October 31st, Halloween, which is usually the date they use for the solo movies that don't have to deal with the real-life Byogans. Though there is still going to be a Healing Good solo film sometime in 2021, which might be a good sign that the series is going to get at least a little extension to tell its full story. I'll certainly look forward to it, and I hope you guys look forward to my Happiness Charge movie review. Yeah, bet you almost thought I wasn't going to include at least a little self-promotion. Anyway, the review should be out sometime later this week, so look forward to it. And until then, though, farewell for now, my friends, and whoa! And this is exactly why I don't like to use DPC memes in these reviews.